All right. Hopefully we have everyone both on Facebook Live as well as on Zoom for today's Sunday morning service with the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light. And I am Reverend Robin Richardson. And today, generally we meet in person, but today the Cosmic Center has a beautiful Ascension conference going on with many wonderful things. And I invite all of you to go and attend. So we are holding for this week only this service here online. So it can also be recorded for future reference. It will be both on the YouTube channel for the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Lights for future viewing, as well as on Facebook. So we invite you to do that and talk to you about some wonderful qualities of exactly what are the signs and qualities of a true master. So before we do that, I'd like to set a beautiful intention and create sacred space. And I have this wonderful crystal harp that we will utilize with our sound, with our intonations, and with our thoughts and vibrations to create around us a beautiful sacred space so that we can receive all of the wonderful breath and knowledge of the divine. So let me go ahead and get this beautiful crystal harp. And we're going to intone beautiful qualities of this sacred 432 hertz crystal harp. So let's open our hearts and our minds and our spirits to the indwelling beautiful essence of the divine. And I've done other talks on how sound is extremely important, for sound creates, and that is the thought of the Divine Father and the Divine Mother that created all the heavens and the earths. So here, let me talk to you about our service today. There have been many avatars and true sages that have walked the earth in past ages. What qualities did they possess that set them apart from the masses? How did their followers know that they were truly enlightened beings? So what are the signs of such an individual, and how would we know them if we encounter them, or in the presence of one? All of these questions are going to be discussed today. So let's talk about some of the masters that we know and love and heard these wonderful stories about. We have Jesus, we have Buddha, Lord Krishna. Remember when Lord Krishna comes down and speaks to Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita? I did a wonderful service on that, and if that calls to you, you can look that up on the YouTube channel for the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light. We can think of Confucius. We can think of the rishis. And there's a wonderful, and I'll go into that later, but some of the rishis, the red hat lamas, the yellow hat lamas, they have been known to perform unbelievable miracles. And so you have a lot of these Red Hat Lamas that go off into the wilderness. They go into caves, into deep seclusion. And one of the initiation rites is basically they sever the carotid artery and they heal it. So think of those miraculous capabilities that you have with your mind. So we've had many masters in the past, and we've had many also that you can, when you reflect upon it, we have in current days. Some of them may be teachers. We have gradient levels of masters. You may have some truly perfected ones, like Jesus the Christ. You can literally read about Buddha's travels and how he became enlightened. But there's been many different levels and gradient levels and many different individuals that have come to earth in different times, and they've achieved levels of greatness. One in particular you may even think about was Edgar Cayce. He was a prophet. He had some beautiful teachings. He was able to heal. However, he may not have been at the level of the Christ, you see. So we have many masters that may be walking the earth, just in various different levels. I'd like you to think of some of them. Even when we go back in time, you can think of Lord Paco, and you can think of Quetzalcoatl. So we have in the indigenous cultures, many of these enlightened beings that walk the earth. We also have a master that I'm going to be talking about, and there's actually a book written on him, and you can actually look him up on YouTube. He recently died, and that was John Chang. He was an Indonesian master, and he had been taught with deep secret teachings, Chinese meditation, that was able to bring him. He was a Qigong master in so many different realms, and I was able to trace him, became very interested in him because he was a living master in our times. And actually, he came forth and reached out to the one individual that had recorded him, and I'll go into that in a little bit more in depth, but said that there will be a time he was able to foresee that, and he wanted everyone to know that all the capabilities that he acquired, we too can have. We can awaken those gifts within us. And that truly also is a sign of a master. When they want to help instruct humanity, they want to help each and every person. And that in itself is a sign of a true master. And he walked the earth. And I will give you websites that you can see. He literally was able to heal people. The voltage in his hands was unbelievable. Was able to heal people physically. He even took a piece of paper and put his chi energy and created fire. Was able to take a straw and went right through solid wood, but then he felt very chastised and then went back off because he was chastised by his masters for showing off. And that's what we're going to talk about, as how all of us have to always be ever vigilant and learn the qualities and seek the virtues and let go of all of the lower frequencies. And that was, again, another sign of a master, a living master that walked the earth here. So let's talk about some of the qualities that masters may exhibit and show when we look back upon the ancient masters, the avatars of light, and even the current ones in our times. So what kind of qualities might they have? Certainly they would have humility. You would know them by their benevolent acts, their kindnesses. How about, when we think about it, power of discrimination? Because through life's journeys, we have to see through the delusion, the Maya. We have to become, if we were gullible, we were naive? Don't we have to become more discerning? And even Jesus said in his teachings, be ye wise as a serpent, but as pure as a dove with your thoughts, words, and actions. And that's to know the ways of the world. That's what he said. You have to know the ways of the world, but need ye not of them. So you'll see that kind of quality in these masters. They have power of discernment, discrimination. They would also have wisdom. They might use parables. They would be both thinking good thoughts themselves, but instructing others to think good thoughts. They would be telling us, but they would also be exhibiting it, doing right actions. And so when you think of that, you have to be looking by the fruits, you will know them. So look at a person's or an individual's fruits. How are you going to know them? By their actions and by what they give to the world. And the fruits are what blossoms from their actions. Would they have authority from the divine? How are they accessing that? Both Buddha, you see, had that direct enlightenment, Christ, but in order to have that authority, you're tapping a higher level of consciousness. Think of the quantum levels, quantum entanglement, but think of Edgar Cayce when he was going into the Akashic records, the highest levels. All the avatars, when you think about them and you go through their life's journey, they'll be connecting with the divine source. And in order to do that, you really have to have no ego, because your ego gets in the way of connecting with the divine source. So at that point in time, you're able to access higher knowledge because you got out of the way. And remember when Jesus said, my Father and I are one. That's when you can empty, be egoless, selfless, sacrificing for the good, and accessing higher knowledge. One thing to think about, a little insight here, would be when you can become nothing. When you have no ego, you're not boastful, you're not prideful. You see, when the ego is nullified, that's when you can become part of everything. You become part of the all. So that's another quality that you can be assessing for and looking at when you are looking for a true master, or if someone was a true master. With a lot of the masters, you're going to see abilities to heal others. So whether it be Jesus the Christ, healing others, performing many miracles, and even this John Chang, the current master. Think of Edgar Cayce. You have the Rishi masters that were able to do unbelievable healing, and the Buddhist masters, you see. So not everyone will have those gifts, because remember we said there's gradient levels that each soul can access and hold the divine. And you have many different lifetimes. We have an infinite number of lifetimes. We have eternity to learn, to grow ever closer, to become enlightened. So you'll see a lot of miracles that these avatars will do. Now, another quality that you might want to look for and assess Is someone a true master? Do they empower others? Is their gift to help others, to empower others? Are others uplifted in their presence? It's not about them. It's not about empowering themselves. It's about empowering others. Even in today's times, when you look for individuals that may be enlightened, that could gift you with some knowledge, before you have to use your own discernment, and before you gift your open and loving heart, make sure they're worthy, and make sure that you know that that's a true master that can teach you. So a true master shouldn't be proclaiming everything about themselves or promote that they're the only way. Remember, Jesus spoke from the Sea of Galilee, from the mountaintops. And he said, these things I do, you can do these and greater. He was empowering others. And even the Buddha wanted to empower others, gifting them with wonderful insights. And in a lot of the teachings, in a lot of our religions, people will speak in parables so that it helps those that they're instructing to better understand the higher teachings. A true avatar, a true enlightened being, they wouldn't need to be fulfilling themselves, for they're already fulfilled. They're filled with the divine. So when they are fulfilled, when they're not seeking selfhood, they're in a position to be able to help others. So that's another quality you would be wanting your teacher to have. Avatars may have many gifts to help others. Each individual may have a different gift, or some may have many. But please do not confuse those psychic gifts only for divine gifts of a master. Just because someone may have psychic capabilities doesn't make them a true master, because they have to acquire the higher virtues. So you can have telepathic powers, but that doesn't necessitate that your soul has acquired the virtues that it needs. The soul needs to be strong. Think of the virtues: strong, tempered, exhibit compassion, be gentle, be able to forgive, be able to sacrifice. Also, hold firm in their inner knowing, even in times of strife. You'll see that courage and that fortitude rise like cream to the top. In this earth, this school ground of earth, as we experience life, it really is a school ground teaching all of us to be masters. Well, whether it be strife or turmoil, tests or temptations, is not earth, your life itself, the experience, teaching you to be purified, acquire virtues? It truly is the testing ground and the teaching ground for all souls to become masters. So let's talk about some of the current masters that you might have heard in our times, because we don't always have to go back 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Are there masters in our times? There's the Rishi masters that I spoke about, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the one that Colonel James Churchward found, as he was uncovering the information about Lemuria and their Tibetan rishis. You have the Red Hat Lamas, in the Hindu religion. You have the Qigong masters like John Chang, that I'll give you the book. It's the Magus. I'll give you how you can read about him and see him on YouTube. So you have current individuals that walk the earth today that can have and exhibit signs of an avatar. Again, are we using our own discernment? What would they have? What kind of qualities would they exhibit? Yes, they would have discernment just like you. They would not be gullible. They would have self-control, patience, strength, fortitude, fearless, and they would hopefully be able to teach you. So, as an insight, when asking for a teacher, think on this. When you are seeking a master, and there was one point in time when I was praying to the divine, I was saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if the Christ was here on earth? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had this divine master that could teach us and we could follow them? And what came to me was that every single encounter that we have on earth, every person, every experience is our teacher. We don't necessarily have to follow a particular teacher. Each encounter with an individual can be your teacher. Think of the grumpy neighbor. Think of the individual that hurt you or a family member. Can you rise above that? Are those experiences truly a teacher for you on earth? So we can utilize all of our experiences and all these individuals that walk this planet Earth and utilize that as an experience for us. I have heard about these Qigong masters and their stories as such, that when you have a master that comes into town, sometimes you will know them and they will heal and perform miracles. Other times, they will come into town and you may not even know they're there, but all of a sudden, their presence, things work better. Peace and love prevail. So whether they're there in person with their light and their love, you may not even know. They don't have to self-proclaim. There are stories of these Qigong masters that went into Russia and hospitals a couple of decades ago. And in the hospitals, as these Qigong masters came through, all the patients were hooked up to all of their meters, and all of a sudden the heart rates were improving, the blood pressure was improving, because their energy could literally infuse all the patients. And that's something physical, but can you imagine when you're in the presence of a master, not only can you be physically healed, but mentally and emotionally healed. So that's when you're looking at this. What a master, when you're in the presence, would you feel uplifted, not drained, you see? And I think that's a really important point to make. So I wanted to share with you about the book. I'm going to give it to you. And it's called The Magus of Java. Remember I talked to you about John Chang? And that's the teachings. It's a book, and you'll be able to look it up and you can actually download it. And I want to tell you a little bit about it because he was a current master that just recently died that was here in our current times. So the book where you can find out all about him, it's a biography, and it's called The Magus of Java, Java, and it's teachings of an authentic Taoist immortal. So it's by, and I'll spell you his name, Kosta, Danos, Danaos. And the book was written in 2000. You'll have YouTubes. You can look him up on the YouTube, and you can see him creating the fire from the paper, but you can see him putting the straw under the table. But then he was chastised. And so then he kind of went back into secret and just healing quietly, and no one ever saw him again. But I will tell you that this wonderful individual who was healed by him, he was able to do the biography. And I encourage all of you who are interested in this to read that book. John Chang will tell you he shared freely how he became a master. And it was based on 3,000-year-old Chinese teachings and meditations that literally are strong, focused meditation every day that encourages strength, focus, like laser point focus. And this is what it takes. And he's telling everyone that it's both the yin and the yang energies. It's in the chakra points. And he will teach you how, if you're interested, he became a master. Interestingly, he went off into the wilderness for a couple of years, was able to do the remote viewing, was able to extend his consciousness. And many masters, as you know, Jesus, Buddha, all of them went into the wilderness, even Moses. So he'll tell you he went into the wilderness and was able to attain that unbelievable cosmic consciousness. And that's when he came back and he reached out to this Kosta and he said, I need to tell everyone that there will be a time of great trouble upon the earth, and that they need to know that all these things I do, they can do, just like what Jesus said. And so that's why this wonderful book was able to be written to gift you with that kind of knowledge, if you so seek, if you are so encouraged, if you so thirst for that knowledge. The breadcrumbs are there. So let's talk about how masters will go off into the wilderness. They go alone generally. They do this to improve their concentration, to attune with the divine, to overcome Maya or delusion. Think of Jesus fasting in the Judean desert for 40 days. Moses was in the wilderness for 40 years before he was called back, you see, to do what he had to do. Think of the American Indians going on their vision quests today. So when you go off into the wilderness and you are communing with nature, you are able to take your consciousness and to increase it. And that's where you'll see and hear of these individuals like these rishis, and I'll talk a little bit now about this Colonel James Churchward's rishi, where they're able to do remote viewing, where they're able to feel you, know you, you can see them in your dreams, they can touch you with their consciousness. And that's what John Chang was able to do. But I also wanted to talk to you about the rishis, because you'll hear of some of these Hindu masters that can do this. And but in this, I'll show you, this is the lost continent of Moon, and this is with Colonel James Churchward. But he wrote about 5 or 6 books, and I encourage you guys to really delve into that if this intrigues you. But I'll tell you the story, because that was a story of a true enlightened master, a rishi. And so Colonel James Churchward had to go to India when he was in the military. And he went to India, and he was a quester, curious for life and for knowledge. And he was searching for enlightenment. He went to this temple, and lo and behold, this rishi, who had been gifted one of the few left on the planet that could read the ancient script from 5,000 years ago, but they were the custodians of tablets that were at least 5,000 years old. And Colonel James Churchward had heard about this and went to the temple. Unbeknownst to him, the rishi, with total divine knowingness, knew that Colonel James Churchward had been his son many lifetimes ago. So as Colonel James Churchward was coming and begging to have a little bit more knowledge, and finally the rishi gifted him, letting him, under the pretext that he has to fix all these 5,000-year-old stone tablets that talked about Lemuria, because they were the custodians of them. He let Colonel James Churchward make rubbings, and he taught him how to decipher this ancient knowledge. But part also of the teachings for Colonel James Churchward is this rishi was able to sit with James Churchward, lift him up into these higher realms, and show him the many lifetimes that they had lived together, and was able to show him what Moses had been able to do. When you read in the Bible that Moses had the staff, remember when the pharaohs had all of their staffs and turned into serpents, and as part of the miracles, and then Moses laid his staff down and it became a serpent and gobbled the rest of the Egyptian pharaohs' priesthood's staffs. And then they knew Moses had the capability to overpower them, because it's Maya, it's illusion. And this rishi, it's very intriguing. He was able to show Colonel James Churchward, he was sitting in a park, and he said, "Let me explain to you the power of the mind." And there was an individual just raking the leaves there. And he was able at that moment to have that individual see a snake and start running. But then he quickly dematerialized it. He said, that's the power of the mind. And that's how you can be able to create these illusions and to also have the strength to overcome them. So this rishi was able to uplift Colonel James Churchward and show him all the many lifetimes, teach him many things from that state. And that's what you get, these stories of these rishis and these Hindu masters that can do this for their disciples. But remember, the teacher, the avatar, should always empower you, the individual. It should never be about the teacher's acclaim. And that's one discerning nugget that you always, I think, really need to bear in mind. So even when we think about going purifying, becoming more enlightened individuals, some of these individuals, think about Moses, he went off into the wilderness, right? But before he did that, he was hot-tempered. Remember the story? So Moses had to go off. Jesus may only had to go off and fast for 40 days, but Moses had to be out in the wilderness for 40 years. Before he went off into the wilderness, before leading the Israelites out of Egypt. Do you remember the story? Moses was incensed over an Egyptian foreman hurting one of the Hebrew slaves, or the Israelite slaves, and he killed him. And that's when he had to flee. So he had to overcome and learn his own virtues to not be so hot-tempered. You see this? To have mastership, control of his own emotions. And that's how you know a true master. And so it took 40 years, but then when Moses acquires the virtues, he calls him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. That's in Exodus 2, 11, 15. So now let's talk about, they may go off into the wilderness. They have this divine acknowledgement, communing with the divine itself. They are also, you hear the stories of both Buddha overcoming temptation. You have them overcoming many temptations, Jesus having to relinquish some things that really meant a lot to them. Think of the prince, think of Buddha. He had to give up his family. Do you see that? In order to go on that quest, to find enlightenment. Jesus gave up his life, his physical life, right? So, but let's think about some of the temptations that some of our avatars might have to overcome, some of the stories. Buddha had a tempter. His name was Mara. And he tempted Buddha with his daughters. But what did Buddha say? They're lovely. Thank you, but no thank you. So he tempted Buddha with sensory gratification. And Buddha had already had to give up all of his princely finances, right? So money. Then for Buddha, during the time when Buddha was seeking enlightenment under the Bodhisattva, he was a Bodhisattva, but under the Buddha tree, Mara sent an army of vicious warriors with pointy weapons attacking Buddha. And what does Buddha do? He's fearless. He acquires that type of quality. And he smiles. And as he smiles, the arrows turn into flowers. He then acquired fearlessness, right? Now let's think of Jesus. Satan was his tempter. Satan tempted Jesus with all the power, all the earthly power, dominion over all of earth. And Jesus said no. When Satan points out to Jesus he could change a rock into fresh bread and eat anything he wants, what does Jesus say? It isn't only bread that really gives us life. He overcomes all of the temptations that Satan throws at him on many different levels. So did Buddha, so did Jesus the Christ. They overcome physical attacks. Buddha overcame the arrows. Jesus literally overcame the crucifixion. They overcome emotional temptations. They overcome physical, emotional, and spiritual temptations, and always make the right decisions. Jesus said to Satan, we don't need to test the fact that God has a net, and that requires you also to have faith. Wanted to bring this to your attention about the birth stories. There's many books, and the Sufis will have tales and parables that the rishis speak of. You will have parables, the Aesop fables, the children's Aesop fables in our own Western civilization. And in the Buddha tradition, they have birth stories. There's actually 547 of them, and they're from the 3rd century BCE, and each describes the future Buddha as he is reborn in different conditions, in different and countless lifetimes, to become enlightened. And with this enlightenment, then teach others. I wanted to bring that out for you in case there are many of you that would like to go ahead and investigate that further. But those are tales of these birth stories that they utilize as teaching aids. And these are tales to both children and adults to inform thinking. They're told to children, adults, and also, guess what? In Laos, they can use them in the courts of law. And I thought that was really fascinating. But what do they teach us? What do the Aesop fables teach us? What do the birth stories teach us? They teach us about the perfections. What do Christ's parables teach us about acquiring the perfections? Moral qualities, whether it be you having the courage, think of the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell did these wonderful talks about the hero's journey, because all these parables and fables aren't found in one tradition. They're found in all cultures and in all religions around the world. And all of these fables and all of these traditions will talk of a hero's journey, all the trials and tribulations they have to overcome, and how they overcome it, and they're acquiring the virtues. So part of this is looking at our own lives and asking, which qualities do we have? And acquiring our own virtues as enlightened beings to become purified. I wanted to quote Zechariah 13:9, and God says, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried." So can we ask ourselves, each and every one of us, how have we been tried on earth during your lifetime? How are you being refined by the tests and trials that you're enduring in this world? Bring my own little parable that I was able to receive a lot of insight. But to think about this, a shovel, I was watching a story, and it really gave me many insights. And it was a story about how a shovel that's of a lower iron, an iron shovel, becomes tempered steel. And it was one of the stories and how it was made. And as I was watching that, I was able to receive this kind of synchronistic download, if you will. So they take a shovel and they put it into this kiln of fire, and they heat it up to a certain level. What they said was, when you extract it out, you have to put it in tepid water, because if you don't, it can shatter because it has a shatter point. And I thought that was very interesting. It has to be put in just tepid water until it cools off. Then, and only then, when it's re-emerged into that kiln and heated up to even a higher temperature, you see, then it becomes tempered steel. And it's in that re-entry that it literally changes from iron into tempered steel. So if you have a physical metal, it can be transformed from fire, the kiln of life. Think about that, trials, the fire of life. And if you don't shatter, you are then turned in, and this is the philosopher's stone, from lead to gold. You are tried and tested in the kiln of life, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. And they even speak of Hermes thrice born. And Hermes thrice born, and you can think of that, in order to be born, you have to die first, to be shattered. So as we can overcome some of the trials and tribulations, the physical ones, the emotional ones, the spiritual ones. Think of the dark night of the soul. When we overcome them, we then are purified into gold, which is what the Bible speaks of, that life, that's what life is doing to us. So I'd like to go ahead and say this beautiful prayer for paradise on earth, and then we're going to have a beautiful meditation. I'm going, as we do the meditation, with each reflection, I will take the harp and I will go ahead and enunciate with this beautiful frequency the thought that we're going to do. But let us go ahead during these times upon this earth, and let us join together and create this beautiful, wonderful insight and visualization for prayer for paradise on earth. All thoughts have energy, and we can imbue it with love and emotion. Prayer for paradise on earth. Great God of light, we behold your plan unfolding, whereby all spiritual clouds are dispelled, impurity and error cleansed, from the realms of spirit and matter. The age of light and joy is being born. Through your infinite compassion, misguided forces awaken unto truth, and negative practices cease, while forces of light unhindered restore the world to peace. All of nature receives your loving influence and finds its rightful place. Peaceful clouds move across brilliant skies, and the fragrance of countless flowers floats upon the air. Abundant harvests glorify the earth, every corner filled with happy voices. Boundaries between countries vanish, and ancient conflicts disappear as if dreams. All people are united, encircled by your light, and guided by your wisdom. Through service to humanity, all are blessed with health, peace, and prosperity. Great God of light, strengthen us with courage and wisdom to follow your will and realize paradise on earth. You can find that wonderful prayer by going to www.Joe Fellowship, and I think you will absolutely, that's another source of beautiful wisdom teachings there. So what I'd like to do is close with this beautiful meditation and reflection for us. And I'm going to use my harp to enunciate all of our meditations and reflections so we can become more attuned. We can become more Christ-like, more meditative and reflective, growing in wisdom every day, and become masters. So just as all the masters go off into the wilderness to truly seek reflection and have insights, to be purified, let us go ahead and join that beautiful reflective state. And let us reflect who on earth in your life have been your teachers. Take a moment. Think of all the individuals in your life and all the experiences. Have they taught you courage? Have they taught you patience? And now contemplate what experiences on earth brought you the highest teaching, the highest teachings for you for your spirit, for your soul. Take a moment to think about that. Ponder that. Have the images come to you. Sometimes they're the harshest experiences that teach you the highest lessons. What individuals, what experiences in life helped you acquire faith? When during those times something might have dropped you to your knees, and only then did you have the faith. And that was an experience and a teacher. What experiences in your life have taught you the power of unconditional love? Have those experiences come to mind and thank them. Have gratitude. What experiences in your life have taught you humility? What experiences in your life have taught you to have courage? Thank those individuals, thank those experiences, thank the divine cosmic mother and father that you were able to achieve that on this school ground, this earthly life. Now you can contemplate, how have you been tempted like Buddha with the daughters? How have you been tempted on earth like Jesus even was tempted? How have you been tempted? Did you pass? Did you fail? What were you tempted with? There's many temptations on this planet. Remember Prince Buddha. He was tempted with financial interests, then he was tempted with it in Lara's daughters, sensory gratifications. How about seeking fame and fortune? Ego. How can you become egoless? So how have you been tempted? And in what ways did you pass? What qualities have you acquired? Did you get an A or even a B? What ways did you pass? What ways did you fail? What do you need to work on? Your failures will teach you what you need to work on. How can we be more purified or more refined? That is in knowing your weaknesses and knowing your strengths. We work and grow our strengths. And we work and become better people, overcoming weaknesses. How can you become stronger? If you were weak, think of Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz. Remember the lion who had no courage? He learned courage, right? How can you become more compassionate? And now I ask, as you assess and self-reflect, who have you forgiven? How have you forgiven? What have you forgiven? Now you've acquired the art of being able to forgive. Now, how have you shown unconditional love to others on earth? When you think upon that, when you meditate and reflect, you can see that a lot of those experiences, those trials, have brought you to the point that you rise to the occasion to show unconditional love. And it comes to my mind to tell you about Black Elk and how he was able to do that. He was a Lakota medicine man who his whole entire, here's Black Elk Speaks. I'll tell you the story. Everyone knows what happened with the American Indians, and his whole tribe was decimated. And he was living remotely, as most masters do. And John Nehart came to him because he heard of all this unbelievable sacred teachings that Black Elk had. And Black Elk was able to forgive all of what happened to his tribe and his people, forgave his enemy, and was able to gift us, through his teachings, with the book Black Elk Speaks, all of the sacred knowledge that he had. He had an NDE when he was a child, but was able to have unbelievable awakening. And he said that the power of the white man, they have the gift of the writings, and that they, if I give even my enemy the sacred teachings, the teachings can go to the world. Think about the quality he just exhibited. Was that not total forgiveness and unconditional love, to love thine enemy? And that's what Jesus spoke of. And Black Elk exhibited that quality. So one other question. What experiences in your life have allowed you to shed or let go of your lower qualities and acquire higher and more godly ones? Releasing the fear. Sometimes it's very difficult, trials or environments that brought you to that point. Releasing anger, frustration, releasing having a short temper like Moses. Now can you see how some of those experiences that you've gone through have brought you the wisdom that you most needed to become purified and refined? Some of these experiences can reduce your pride, your ego, your jealousy, and allow you then to acquire humility and selflessness. Was that not a selfless act that Black Elk did when he gifted us the sacred teachings, the holy teachings of his elders? Us, all of civilization after his entire tribe had been decimated. Now let us self-reflect. Once you can do this and see how all of these experiences have brought you gifts and allowed you to become more purified, they gave you gifts of wisdom. When you understand that, you can give and give yourself this act of forgiveness. More easily forgive those who have hurt you. And you can then see it as a gift of wisdom, and you can more easily forgive the perpetrators that have hurt you. Then you can truly shed your lower feelings, the hurt, the anger, the revenge, the sorrow, the pity, the depression, let go of that, the want, the desires, like Buddha was saying, and you can move on to acceptance and even gratefulness for the experience that it gave you. Release into infinite love. and acquire Christ-like virtues, truly learning to love your enemy, release into unconditional love. Remember that we are infinite souls and spirits with infinite capacities. That is what John Chang told us. We have infinite time to work on acquiring the wisdom of the ages, to acquire all the virtues, for truly our souls are immortal. When we understand this, it can help us to more easily to not be fearful or to be scared, and then be able to love life with zest, to love life and experience infinite gratitude for it, loving all, God, others, yourself, the world, and to embrace your journey here on earth. So I'd like to close the service now. Thank you for being here. I hope that you have shared this wonderful journey. Thank you for sharing it with us. Bring into your heart and soul absolute gratitude and walk into the world with love. That is a gift to yourself and unto the world. And you can be this beautiful light into the world and go even where it is dark. Remember, light dispels darkness. And it is with the gift and the enlightenment of knowledge and wisdom that all of us can walk this journey of life and become and acquire more of the attributes of the avatars. So walk in love and light. And if you are so called, as we close this beautiful service, to spread the love and light, you can go to the donate button, go to Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light, CCOSL /donate, so that we can give our light into the world. We appreciate all of your love donations. Appreciate you being here today, sharing your love and light. And we send you peace that passes all understanding. Thank you. Namaste, and may peace be unto you, as Jesus said. We say together, Amen, 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 and Amen. And then if there are any individuals who have any questions, please feel free. I'm here just online so I can answer them. And I see there's a couple of panelists here. Just let me know if you have any questions before I log off. And this should also be on Facebook, streaming on Facebook Live. And that will be there for future reference, as well as on the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light's YouTube channel. And that'll be there. And let's just close with one last blessing. We have a question here. Just one moment. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate you being here. And let me just close here with our little gift here. God of our heart, God of our realization, beloved benefactor of the entire cosmos, creator of love divine, that generates and creates all the universe. Come shine down upon us and into us. Fill us with your holy magnificence. Awaken us, activate our spirits. Set us afire with your grace and love. Empower us, O Lord, to be fully activated. We are your sons and daughters, made in your image and love. Help us shine our light and serve humanity. Help us acquire virtues, find our path of service, and lift the veil of forgetfulness. Let us awaken. Bless us with enlightenment and let us receive it into our holy temple of our body, our mind and soul, and so we can help light the world with our light and then touch the world with goodness. And we say together, Amen, 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 and Amen. Namaste, and I'll see you every fourth Sunday of the month, and next time it'll be in person. And invite everyone there that's out there if they'd like to go in person to the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light and go and attend the event, the Ascension Conference today. Namaste.